Hello, I'm Casey Aiken. This is 21 This Week. Coming up next, how to fix Montgomery County's dismal economic growth. As revenues decline, so does the capital improvement program's budget. The AI revolution demands more energy. How will the General Assembly respond? And Governor Moore wants to impose a $1 delivery fee on all Uber Eats and Amazon deliveries. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Central Committee, Stacey Sauter, and civic activist Cary Lamari. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. To the audience watching 21 This Week, we are a topical news show. And earlier this week, there was a major tragic accident when an American Eagle flight collided with a helicopter over the Potomac River. Our hearts and prayers go out to the people who were on the flight and their families. And now, on to our topics. In a scathing six-part series on the woeful performance of the Montgomery County economy over the past decade, political blogger Adam Pagnucco exposes what many in the political class want to hide. Population growth, half the average of the region. GDP growth, 9th out of 10 jurisdictions. Personal income growth, 10th out of 10. Stacey, you have a master's degree in public policy and in journalism. Pagnucco suggests that rising progressivism is working against us. What can be done to stimulate growth in our economy?
Casey, thanks for the softball, because the answer to me is clear: elect more Republicans. Listen, even though Pagnucco and I differ politically, I believe he does an excellent job of researching, analyzing, and summarizing complex county issues. I read that series that you mentioned with great interest, and I found it very disheartening to see that MoCo registers, as you just mentioned, at or near the bottom of nearly every economic metric that he measured. And, he compared us to 9 other regional districts, which included Loudoun County, Howard County, and Fairfax County. They are eating our lunch. And he made multiple conclusions, but the one that stuck out the most to me and that hits us the hardest are the serious infrastructure fees, the impact fees that are levied by county government on new construction projects. Developers can respond to these taxes in one of 3 ways. They can forward shift it so that the prices are covered by the impact fee by the end user. They can backward shift it by paying vendors and employees less, or they can absorb it. So pick your poison, right? And on the top of the impact fees, the county has added multiple layers of development costs, making it extremely unattractive to start new construction projects here. This includes rent control and the county's aggressive building energy performance standards. So we could fill up an entire show discussing that.
One of our next topics will be about the decline in the impact fees. But I want to switch to Cary right now. Cary, it's kind of interesting that Pagnucco paints a very grim picture. And he asks a very real question. The question is, should we expect our current political class, who's presided over this economic decline, to get us out of it? What's the solution when you have such a monopoly by one party on the levers of electing our officials?
I don't want to get into the political aspect of it, because in the real world, it's a matter of business experience. On the current council, we only have one council member that has any real experience in the business world, and that's Sidney Katz. And secondly, there needs to be a synergy, some sort of a symbiosis between state and local government that doesn't exist. And then finally, what you need to consider, the root of the problem is our priorities. A strategic plan to improve economic growth. What we have today is a population growth rate of about 0.66%. Our economic growth rate, unfortunately, is a dismal 0.24%. That's not sustainable. And that's a huge problem. Unless we develop priorities, and it's not increase housing, it's increasing jobs, our future's bleak.
But, and this is a general question. We got about 2 minutes, so maybe one minute each. Does the county council or the county executive even care? Stacey, I'll let you go, and then Cary.
You know what? I think you're asking a chicken or an egg question. I'm going to make history here. I'm going to answer the question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's clear that we have political chickens first, and they are really good at laying legislative eggs. And we could talk a little more about that. But in terms of tweaking the economy, you can do little tweaks here and there. They need to be making massive changes to their approach to governance.
All right, Cary, you get to wrap it up.
Okay, if you want to really think about this, why are we putting so much energy on housing when you've got almost 40,000 units in the pipeline that's ready, approved, ready to go? And we have a dismal growth, in our population of 0.6%. That's nothing, and the fact that our economy, our income, our jobs is so low, it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. We need to establish priorities. Our council needs to, like Stacey said, chicken or the egg. We need to develop a strategy where we create the jobs, we address the consequences of population growth, and then we've already got the housing in the pipeline. There's no hurt.
We got to go on to our next topic, which is one that I think both of you will enjoy. And Stacey, you alluded to this in your opening answer. Stacey, this week the county executive Marc Elrich introduced his fiscal 2026 capital budget and capital improvement program, and he recommended a budget of $83 million less than his last CIP because of a collapse in revenue from the school impact taxes and the transportation impact taxes. Once again, is this the result of the overall weak Montgomery County economy?
Unequivocally, yes. Listen, the bottom line is that government is really good at creating laws mandating who makes payments to them. And those are the jumbo-sized legislative eggs I was referencing earlier. But the reality is that our current government on both county and state levels is really suck at appreciating the market forces that determine whose real income gets impacted by the legislation, or worse, they know and they don't care. So, you cannot and should not even try to legislate market forces. It's that simple. It's like trying to legislate rainfall, which they of course try to do. And Montgomery County has hit developers hard. And so the developers are hitting back even harder by choosing not to build here, which dampens our economic growth. They're going to other jurisdictions where they're prospering. So with the net result, we lose economic viability and population growth. At the same time, the county is holding steadfast to its sanctuary status and absorbing the extraordinary cost of taking care of who knows how many indigent people. That is not a formula for balanced success in this county. So again, people start electing Republicans who have no interest in legislating rainfall, but want to attract and create real rainmakers here.
So, Cary, Stacey's really hit on the conundrum that exists between the need for housing, and you question that because you say there are 40,000 units in the pipeline, but developers don't want to build unless they're going to make money. The need for affordable housing. So does it surprise you that Montgomery County has the highest impact taxes in the state of Maryland?
No, it's the way we do business in Montgomery County. We have a lot of special interests, and how do we placate them? We steal from the CIP on other projects. We charge them new fees, like for example, what Kristen Mink's offering this week. Now she's going to have a $20,000 fee on teardowns. Okay. And remember, there's a lot of housing units in Montgomery County that are 40, 50, 60 years old. They're in dire need of renovation or tearing down and rebuilding. That's not how you do business. You've got to have a strategy on how we can increase, economic jobs in the county. And after you do that, then you look at the actions that are necessary, like the environment and their transportation, schools, and then you look at housing. We've got time to do this. We don't need to pay for all these things by developers. You know, I mean, that's our favorite thing, is to create new impact fees, new excise taxes to deal with every little or every big special interest request that comes along. It's just stupid.
Hey, Stacey, let me ask you a question. You're in real life, you're a realtor. What's the mean price of housing in Montgomery County?
An entry-level home in almost all areas across Montgomery County is going to be $700,000 or greater. And I'm talking about townhouses now, okay, that used to be under that $500,000 threshold. So if you're looking for that buy-up home, you're now over $1 million, and you're looking at anywhere between 1 million to maybe 1.3 million to get into a larger home with a nice yard, 2-car garage. It's crazy.
Well, what I'm seeing also, and Cary, this goes back to the point that you just made about the proposal from Councilmember Mink. You know, in infill neighborhoods where houses are being renovated and houses are being torn down, they're not being sold for $700,000. They're going for $1 million. And who is going to be able to afford it when you add another $20,000 to the cost of housing?
Well, you know, she's trying to, and I understand what she's trying to do. I think that there needs to be a better way. She's trying to address the mansionization of Montgomery County, but that's not the problem. Look, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses, or apartments, I should say, and co-ops in Silver Spring that were built in the 40s. You know, they still have knob and tube wiring. Many of these buildings, their brick foundations are cracking. You know, eventually, all these older homes are going to either need to be renovated or torn down and rebuilt. You see where that comes from?
What a conundrum that we base so much of our economic development on impact fees. There's got to be a better way. When we come back from this short break, the AI revolution demands more and more energy. How is the General Assembly and the governor going to respond? And Governor Moore, he wants to impose a $1 delivery fee on all Uber Eats and Amazon deliveries. Stay tuned.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
Welcome back. In September 2022, a little tech company introduced a new computer application called ChatGPT and introduced millions of Americans to the artificial intelligence revolution. Now, suddenly, Maryland politicians realized that that AI had a voracious appetite for electric energy, and that energy solutions demands and the generation of new energy sources. Stacey, Governor Moore wants a 100% clean energy environment by 2035, but according to a report presented to the General Assembly, the regional electric grid is inadequate and energy production can't meet the demands of data centers and other applications. What's the General Assembly and Governor Moore going to do?
I think they're in for a big jolt. From what I read, before long, the state will be incapable of meeting its electricity demands, and we will need to import 70% of our electricity from out of state to meet the grid capacity. Good luck managing that during peak times, meaning Maryland could suffer from rolling blackouts, which shouldn't surprise us since Maryland is the political mirror image of California on the East Coast. And look how well those climate change initiatives are working out there. The progressives were fiddling while large swaths of Los Angeles were burned to the ground. Our politicians in the Maryland State Legislature and the County Council got all wrapped up in the political zeitgeist of climate change, which we are now coming to see as an esoteric wish list with little or nothing to do with good governance. I think people want their government to provide for personal safety and protection of their personal property, and they want good schools and safe streets. That's government's number one job. But this idea that we can be a 100% clean energy state by 2035 is not only preposterous, but it's dangerous, I think. And it's one of the reasons that the economic metrics are not only bad in Montgomery County, but across the state. So, like, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, people start electing Republicans.
Well, I was surprised back in September of last year when it was announced that the 3 Mile Island nuclear facility was being sold to a single, I think it was Amazon that bought it. I can't remember if it was Amazon or which tech company was buying it, because they wanted a sole source of energy production. I mean, just think about the demands that the data centers and our artificial intelligence are going to have on our state and our country. But Cary, I'm worried that we've become a nation of complainers. We don't recognize the importance that electric generation has improved our lives. And recently there were public protests in Baltimore, Carroll, Frederick counties of a proposed high voltage transmission line that would connect the Pennsylvania nuclear reactor to a data center in Northern Virginia. Are people going to stop complaining and realize we need to start building things again in America?
Well, we should be complaining, Casey. I mean, the reality is we are purchasing 40% of all of our electrical current today from out of state. We're not producing it. And secondly, wind generation, hydraulic, solar, it's just not cutting the mustard. It's not doing it. We're doing what we always do. We're ignoring our infrastructure we have for years, and now we're paying the price. People want to have hot tubs in their house. They want to have electric vehicle charging station. They want to have, high-speed computers. But guess what? It takes electricity. And if we're not willing to look, the future is modular, electrical, nuclear generation. We need to get to that, and we need to get to that soon. But that's 8 to 10 years away. Again, where are our priorities? What's our strategy?
Well, I mean, it seems that, the General Assembly is going to chase its tail like a cat, trying to figure this out. Stacey, any final thoughts on this?
Oh, I couldn't agree with Cary more. I think that the future is going to be in nuclear. And as he was just saying about the modular units, that we can have these much smaller, more efficient nuclear units instead of like the 3 Mile Island. And then they would be able to service a smaller area, or even maybe in particular, some of these large AI facilities. So, and he's correct, it's going to take a little bit of time, but, and also to his point about strategy, that we really definitely need to be developing an alternate strategy to what they're currently doing if we're going to try to meet these demands.
Let's it's an intractable problem, because I don't think our General Assembly is attuned to the demands that everybody has. We all love our phones. We love our devices. They eat a lot of electricity. But let's talk about the General Assembly. Let's talk about what Governor Moore has proposed, kind of an outrageous proposal. The Maryland budget deficit is so bad that Governor Moore has proposed charging a $1 delivery fee on services like Amazon and Uber Eats. Now, I don't know about you. I'm not a big Uber Eats guy, but my household gets at least 2 Amazon deliveries a day. And at $1 a pop over a year, that's going to be quite expensive, Cary. Up to now, Governor Moore has been politically adroit, but if this tax goes through, I'm predicting he'll be a one-time politician. What do you think?
I don't know about that, because he's doing the same thing that every governor's done and every council member has done that I can remember. Look, there needs to be synergy between the General Assembly and our local jurisdictions. We can't continue to fund. I mean, this dollar is supposedly going to go to student debt relief. I mean, every single thing that comes along, we've got to find a way to pass that cost, instead of taking it out of our general fund, our property taxes, our sales tax, right? And numerous other taxes that we pay, right? We've got to go look at businesses as a cash register and say, okay, you can pay for this. And that's just shouldn't be the way it works. You cannot look to the business community to pay for every altruistic, cause in the world.
So here's a novel thought, Cary. Why can't the students pay their own debt? And why does the general public need to provide them with relief?
Look, let's be honest. Education has gotten far too expensive. We've dropped the ball because we've allowed a lot of things to occur that shouldn't have occurred. Kids are walking away from college with incredible student debt. It's not their fault. It's
So are
our
their parents, Cary. So are their parents. I paid on my students' debt for almost 20 years after they graduated. I mean, it was a long process. So I don't have any sympathy for the students that are trying to get out of it. I don't think they deserve the relief. But so, Stacey, excuse me. Everybody seems to be, wanting to tax the rich. There was a headline in the Washington Post today that said that the public is generally happy with that. Aren't there too many taxes and not enough cuts?
Yes.
We got time to fill. Stacey. You got to
Listen,
say more than that.
I know. Listen, Governor Moore is one big political chicken. He's got his eye on the White House instead of the chicken coop in Annapolis. So he's afraid to take bold moves that are required to truly govern in a way that will stop the progressive legislature from laying all those damned eggs and bringing the prosperity to the state that Larry Hogan did. Keep in mind that Larry Hogan inherited a $5 billion deficit from Democrat Governor Martin O'Malley. Hogan not only retired that debt, but he managed to leave Governor Moore with a $5 billion surplus, a $10 billion turnaround. That's really impressive. And in just 2 years, Governor Moore has wiped out that surplus and gotten us into $3 billion worth of debt. It's unimaginable. And that figure is expected to rise to over $6 billion within the next few years. What? I mean, what? When are Maryland voters going to wake up and understand that these supermajorities in our county council and state legislature believe they live in a hermetically sealed political environment where they can do whatever the hell they want and taxpayers be damned? Voters need to take a closer look at Republicans who want prosperity and economic viability for all. These legislators who will stop the madness of the progressives passing one tax encumbering bill after another. So to answer your question,
I'm going to stop you here because I can see Cary is in distress. He's dying to jump in here. Cary,
distress doesn't even touch it. What about health care? What about, student costs associated? What about the price of groceries today? Look, you had a student loan, Casey, but you didn't have these $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year college loans with no health care. Look, we are screwing things up because both Republicans and Democrats, are not running government the way it should be. We're pacifying special interest groups. And guess who's suffering? Our children.
mm-hmm.
we're also suffering.
That's it.
We're all suffering here. All right. Thanks for the fun conversation. We're going to and stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back. Now with parting shots, Stacey Sauter.
Casey, thank you. And thank you for letting me join you today. And with Cary, it's good to see you, Cary. I would also echo your sentiments about the tragic loss that we experienced this week with the collision of the two, the plane and the helicopter. It's quite sad, and it's impacting this area greatly. It is going to give us an opportunity to do some close examination about the overburdened Reagan National Airport and the helicopter traffic nearby. Anyway, that said, you've heard me say several times throughout this show about people need to start thinking about voting Republican. And that's my job here in Montgomery County, is to try to recruit Republican candidates and to get more Republicans involved in our party. And I'm doing a lot this year in terms of recruitment. If you have any interest in joining us, you should reach out to me at chairman@mcgop.com. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Stacey. Cary Lamari.
My heart goes out to the family and friends of the people that passed away as a result of this recent tragedy. It's a shame. It shouldn't have happened, and we've got to do better. We've got to figure out what happened, and we've got to do something. Let's hopefully we can do something so it doesn't happen again. I'm going to go back now to the issue of priorities in housing in Montgomery County. The council's just stuck on the fact that they want to have a housing bill. Well, I got to tell you something. If you really want to have a housing bill, you need to have higher income, wage earning residents coming into the county, and we're losing them. We're losing them by the drove. The bottom line is it's the economy, stupid. I don't want to say stupid, but it is. You want to go for housing, people have to earn the money to be able to pay for this housing.
Thank you, Cary. Thank you, Stacey, for being here. And I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.